Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Cutting Through the Bullshit. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie Snyder, and I am a high performance mentor. Through my unique blend of strategy, mindset, and intuition, I help men and women to cut through the BS in order to create the life and business they desire. So in true fashion, didn't really know what I was going to talk about today until I sat down and did some journaling, my little quiet time. I actually had some fun inspiration come to me in the shower, and so I shared that in the Overjoyed Moms Facebook group, just that little clip there. If you're not a part of that group, please go ahead and join. I have been MIA from that group for a little bit, but we're turning that back online. That's going to be a real thing. So head on over there. We'll have a conversation there. So today I want to talk to you about doubt versus belief, because I had this fun little, I call them my badass booms. They're just these simple one-liners that come to me that are so powerful. And this one was, doubting yourself has gotten you this far. Imagine how far believing in yourself could get you. And I thought, that is just so fun, right? Because when I was journaling this morning, what was coming up for me was my indecisiveness, right? Just kind of sitting on the fence as to whether or not to go all in my coaching business. And it's been on the back burner for a little bit because of doubt. I'm just being fully transparent and vulnerable with you right now. There was a lot of doubt coming up, and I didn't want to believe the doubt, right? Really wanting to coach myself through this doubt. And so what came up for me were a couple of situations in which I did better the second time around than I did the first time. And because this is when you try something that you've already tried, there's not necessarily a ton of confidence in there, right? Sometimes there's that doubt of well, you tried it before, this may not work again, right? Kind of a thing. And that's what was coming through. And so God just really showed me a couple of examples of this in my own life, in which the second time around was way better than the first time around. And I actually benefited from failing the first time. I used air quotes around that. It was a fail. We'll just call it a fail. We're not going to use air quotes. So failing the first time around actually made me stronger going into the second time. I apologize if you can hear the dog downstairs. She's being a little bit cray-cray. Not sure what's happening. Anyways, so the two examples that were brought to my mind as I was journaling about this morning was one, during my Ph.D. process. I will probably talk about writing my Ph.D. until the end of time, because it was such a great learning experience for me. Really, just the strength that came through, and the perseverance, and all the things that were learned along the way. And so the very first example here is when you finish your PhD, or you finish your coursework rather, in a doctoral program. For my program, not all programs, but for my program, you have to take what are called exit exams. They're actually called comprehensive exams. But you have to pass these 3 core exams in order to be able to start writing your dissertation. And the first time I took these exams, I was 36 weeks pregnant with baby number 3, and I only passed 2 of the 3. And I remember having a conversation with my girlfriend and being like, well, I guess I'm just not meant to have my PhD because I only passed 2 of the exams. If I was meant to if I was meant to move on, I would have passed all of them. And she was like, you have another chance to take this exam. And now you're only taking 1, and you already know what's on it. So just study the stuff that you know is already on it, and you'll pass it easily. And I was like, God bless. Yep, no, you're right. And so I took the exam again, and I passed it. Then, about a year later, I was in the process of writing my dissertation, and the first 3 chapters have to go through what's called a proposal defense. In that, you have to defend, you have to share your first 3 chapters before they'll let you write chapters 4 and 5, actually do the research, right? You've got to do all the background stuff ahead of time. And so I did my proposal defense, and not all of my committee members passed me. So, and it has to be a unanimous pass. Like they're all like, yeah, nope, she's good to go. And one of my committee members was like, nope, she's not good to go. So my proposal defense failed the first time. Had to do it again. And at that point, I was already invested. I knew that this was the thing that I was doing. I was getting my Ph.D. come hell or high water. And so it was just a matter of persisting through all of the ups and downs, right? And so that was interesting, right? Ended up ultimately 5 years in the program. It took me 2 years to write the dissertation. Passed the final defense the first time. It took me a long time to get there. A lot of, excuse me, a lot of learning along the way, all the things, right? And so another example that was brought up, and this is one that I really just, it's really, to me, just so paramount. So in 2017, actually right after I had finished my PhD, I was in an ATV accident, and my right kneecap was shattered. There was a horizontal break in the bottom half of it shattered. And initially the doctors were like, well, you might never walk normal again. And I was like, well, I'm too young for that to happen. And so I had already decided that I was going to run. And I had that surgery in December of 2017, the initial surgery. And I told my children that for spring break, I wanted to be able to ride a bicycle. Well, that was not easy to do, because after 6 weeks of being fully immobilized, my knee had a lot of scar tissue built up, and so I had very, very limited range of motion in it. And it took a lot of physical therapy, a lot of work on my part in order to get it to the point where I could pedal a bicycle, right? But ultimately the goal was to get back to running. And I'll never forget this. This day will be forever engraved in my head, in my memory, always there. I was at the physical therapist, and they said, okay, well, in order for you to run again, you actually have to jump first. And I thought, well, that's stupid. Why do I need to jump? I just want to run. And he said, well, actually, when you're running, there's a split second where you're entirely off the ground. And so, yes, you have to learn to jump again. And I thought, but I don't want to jump. I just want to run. And he was like, no, you have to jump in order to run. Okay, fine. So they put me on this wooden block. It was probably about 18 inches off the ground, maybe 2 feet. But I remember standing on top of this block and looking down at the ground and feeling like I was on top of the Empire State Building. Because as I'm standing there trying to work up the courage to jump, they're giving me instruction. Make sure you don't stiff-leg it because it's going to hurt like a mofo, right? Make sure you give, make sure you bend, right? Don't just fall flat on your feet, land on your tippy toes, right? There were all these instructions coming at me while I was standing on top of what I had deemed the Empire State Building, right? And so it felt like it took me forever to talk myself into just jumping 18, 24 inches, whatever it was, right? It was probably just a matter of seconds, but it felt like forever. And I jumped, and I stiff-legged it, and it hurt like a mofo. And they said, you did what we told you not to do, so now you gotta try it again. And so the second time, I was like, okay, well, whatever we did the first time, don't do that this time, right? Let's not stiff-leg it. Let's actually give ourselves a little bit of oomph here. Bend your knee, maybe over-bend your knee as you're going through this. And the second time was fine. It hurt not as much, hurt just a little bit less, right? And so I was given these examples this morning as I was working through this self-doubt. And as I'm coaching myself, it was a matter of, do you want to continue to doubt yourself, or do you want to try believing in yourself? And it was like, okay, noted, got it. And so, yeah, there is a little bit of fear and worry and doubt the second time around that you do something. Because it's not that like the newbie experience where you have no idea what's going on, no clue whatsoever. However, you do have a bit more wisdom there. And so you can say, you know what? This didn't work last time. Let's focus on this time. And you can start to weed away the things that don't actually work. And then all you have left with is belief. So as you pare away the things that you're doubting, you ultimately get a whole lot of belief in yourself in the ways that it would work. So instead of thinking about all the ways it won't work, what if you focused on the way it would work? That really changes things. So I'm going to sign off here. This was a fun discussion. I hope you got something from it. I certainly did this morning when I was moving through it. So I'm sending you so much love. If you are interested in working with me in the new year, I do actually have a couple of activation spots open next week. I'm feeling pulled to share that with you. So if you are interested in activation, this is a private 60-minute call where we just give you a breakthrough. My whole thing is you don't need a course, you need a breakthrough. And so we're going to break through some stuff during that activation. So if you are interested in that, you can reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram, Stephanie Snyder, Ph.D., or you can head over to my website, send me an email. There are easy ways to get a hold of me, so let's not make it complicated, right? And then I am excited about the new year. If you're interested in more long-term container, those are available as well. I do have private coaching available in the new year. So I am sending you a whole lot of love. I am so grateful that you spent this time with me. If you are new to my world, thank you so much for being here. If you found any benefit from this video or podcast, I would love if you would share it on Instagram, tag me on it. I'd love that. And I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And as always, be you, because the world needs more of you. Bye.